All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start Chapter 2. This is Lesson 2.1, Writing Equations. One big thing I want to make sure you guys are fully aware of as we move forward, we're going to start getting into stuff that you're more familiar with still, but we're going to start building the bridge on top of it. So first thing we always do in our class, ladies and gentlemen, is of course the bell work in the upper left-hand corner. Please put Lesson 2.1 and work on it. All right, so let's get started on this, ladies and gentlemen. Big key point is just sometimes we need to make sure we write it out as we see it. So in this instance, it was 2 times, it's twice the sum of a number and x. Okay, there you go. The next one, evaluate this expression when you plug in these numbers. So if you remember from earlier, we had, so this would be 3 squared plus, and then it's x, so it would be 0.4 times z, which is 5 over 4, okay? And then that would be plus, let me change that bracket. And then it would be plus 3, then close the bracket. So what I'll make sure you guys have on this is understand what you're doing. Let me put the 0 here so we have it. Okay, the best way to solve this, ladies and gentlemen, would be to use a calculator. Okay, so if I grab one over here, usually I have one standing by, but I didn't this time. Go ahead and put it into the equation. So on mine, I'm going to do 0.4 times 5, put a fraction in. 5 over 4. I hit enter, and you get 0.5. Okay, so, and then 0.5 plus 3. So if I have 3 squared is 9, plus, this would be 3.5. So I'm going to round out to be 12.5. Okay, sorry, it took a bit to get there, but we got it. All right, what is the domain and range of the relation? Remember, ladies and gentlemen, domain equals x, okay? And the range is the y. So, knowing that, we know that the x and y are what? The x's are 1, the domain is 1, -2, 0, -5. Then we know the range is 4, 6, 3, and 8, okay? That is the range. Now, you would annotate it with brackets, start writing the numbers out, go from there, but you guys get the drift. All right, so let's get started. We're talking about, we're using mathematical practice 2, logic and reasoning. All right, we're going to start creating equations and inequalities in one variable to solve, basically to solve complex, eventually more complex equations and real-world problems. Evaluate, simplify expressions. Now we're going to translate sentences into equations, and equations into sentences. We did a little bit of this in Chapter 1. On your notes, ladies and gentlemen, I believe at the top you will probably start to see some vocabulary. I know the word formula is going to be in here, but we'll go from there. All right, translate this sentence into an equation. A number b divided by 3 is equal to 6 less than c. So remember, what I want you guys to do is on your notes in the left-hand margin, please put page 29, example 1, right by this example. Okay, so that way you can tie your notes to the book together, especially when we get through the end of this. You're going to have a big notebook, and you're going to want to be able to tie everything. So let's get started. A number divided by divided by 3. So number b, board's acting up. A number, so let me erase that. All right, a number b divided by 3 is equal to 6 less than c. Straight up, simple, just like that. Okay, so a number b divided by 3, okay, because that's what it is 6 less than c. So it is c, but it's 6 less than that. Okay, so there's your equation. Your turn, ladies and gentlemen. Well, look, there it is. Yay, I got it right. Sometimes I forget I leave these up here. Answer B. Translate this sentence into an equation. 15 more than z times 6 is y times 2 minus 11. That's a breathful. break it down piece by piece. Okay? 15 more than z times 6 is y times 2 minus 11. Just like it says, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the equation written right here. Okay? Sometimes we talked about in chapter 1, when it's less than, you got to make sure you have the right sequence in mind for right here. Okay? 6 less than c. So you know it's c minus 6. That's the only case where things aren't written out like they seem. Every other time, ladies and gentlemen, especially when it says minus, you write it out like you see it. Okay? If we run into an issue like that, just think about what you're writing down as you go. All right? Now it's up to you, ladies and gentlemen. Guided practice. On the margin, please put guided practice in the margin, page 79, and you try. All right, straight up, pretty simple, ladies and gentlemen. I'll do this in blue. 2 plus the quotient of a number in 8, so quotient is dividing, so I'm just going to use x over 8, is the same as 16. All right, relatively simple. Hopefully you guys got this. 27 times k, so 27 times k, all right, is, so that's equals h squared decreased by 9. Now, in this instance, ladies and gentlemen, guess what you do? You write it just like it says because the variable's in the front. So it would be h squared minus 9. Okay? Hopefully you all got that and understand that. So the less than, make sure you always understand that the variable is going to be in the front and the number is going to be in the back. It goes the same with this. I know when we had our quiz in the first chapter, a lot of people got stumped by that. Please don't, okay? Now if you guys turn your page to page 80, I'll turn along with you. Let's talk about this. Real world, all right? Jelly bean manufacturer produces 1,250,000 jelly beans per hour. How many hours does it take them to produce 10 million jelly beans? That's a lot of jelly beans. When we solve these, ladies and gentlemen, this is the key concept I want to make sure you understand. As we start to go through these word problems, please understand, break it down. Okay, so what do we know by reading this? You know that 1.25 million jelly beans are produced each hour. Okay? And you want to know how many hours it's going to take to make 10,000. So you have to write an equation representing that. So what's the first key thing we do? Remember when we talked about in class, you write it down as you see it. Okay? So, for example, as you see it, 100, so on your guys' notes, keep looking at this as we're going through. 1,250,000 times hours equals 10 million. So if you're asking, we go back up here. What is it saying? It produces. So you would write this number down first. Write it down as you see it. And then want to know per hour, because that's what we're going by. So it would be this number times, I'm going to write over the top of it, x. Okay? And then what is that going to equal? That equals, ladies and gentlemen, 10 million. So that's where you're going to get to right here. All right? That's what the equation is. And I put h, all right, times h. Hopefully you guys understand that. And so you have to ask yourself what number. You can reduce this pretty quickly. You see that they got rid of the zeros. All right? So you have 1,000 divided by 125, and it equals 8. So what you do to finish this off, ladies and gentlemen, it would be divided by 125. So if you put this into a calculator, all right, 10,000 or 1,000 divided by 125, the answer is 8. So it'll take 8 hours to produce 10,000 jelly beans. All right, now what I want you guys to do is, remember, like I said, write it down as you see it, look at this word problem, think about it, and go from there. All right, so let's write it down as we see it, ladies and gentlemen. There are 40 members in the Florida Senate. This is 80 fewer, all right, so this is 80 fewer than the number in the Florida House of Representatives. How many members are in the Florida House of Representatives? So when you start setting this up, know what kind of equation you're going for, all right? This is 80 fewer than the number in the House of Representatives. So we just talked about that. In the Bell work and in the example 1, okay, where it talks about r minus 80 because it's 80 fewer. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you have to solve, okay? Solve for r. How many members are in the house? Well, we need to isolate. Remember, we kind of mentioned in class that you want to isolate the r by itself. So what you do is you want to create 0 in this instance. In order to do that, you would add 80 to both sides. Because if you add 80, then what do you get here? Since it's negative 80 plus 80 is 0, so what is left on this side? Just the r by itself. What's 80 plus 40? R equals 120. So how many members are in the Florida House of Representatives? 120. Okay? Geometry. So, translate the sentence into a formula. The perimeter of a square equals 4 times the length of a side. Well, this is relatively simple. Let me see if I put the example. I did. All right, the perimeter equals 4 times the length of a side. So we would go P in this case. Perimeter equals 4 times the length of a side. So perimeter basically is P equals 4S. Okay? Pretty straightforward when you guys are reading. Now I want you to work on it yourself. Okay? Creating a formula. Translate the sentence into a formula. All right, in the right triangle, the square of a measure of a hypotenuse C is equal to the sum of the squares of the measurements of its legs. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of my favorite formulas of all time. It is the Pythagorean Theorem. The square of a measure C is equal to the sum. So we know we're going to have a plus. Squares of the measurements of its legs, A and B. Okay? So, if you guys notice how I did that there, as I'm reading it, the square of the measure of the hypotenuse C, okay, so it's squared, is equal, the equal part, to the sum. Now, do I have anything else written down? No, but you saw when I did it, I put the plus sign out here because I know I'm adding something together. What am I adding together? The squares of A and B. Okay, that's what I need to make sure you guys do as we move forward in the homework tonight. That I will write in the comment section of this video. I'll make sure I update this later on. Work on the word problems, ladies and gentlemen. Focus on how to translate those words, okay? It's very important. All right, translate the equation into a verbal statement. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the back opposite. So, what would you do? Left to right. Let me go with the difference of, because I just like using this one sometimes. Difference of 12 and 2 times x is equal to -5. There we go. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how I would write that. Can you write it differently? Yes, you can. All right? If you find another way you want to do it. So, for example, you could put on here that 2x. Well, let's just say it'd be if we use the less than. I have to think about how we're going to do that. I don't want to spend too much time on the video, but this kind of writing out straight up as is good. Oh, here we go. 12 minus 2 times x equals -5. Okay? I put the difference. They just put minus. You can do either one. Guided practice, ladies and gentlemen, your turn. Okay? Think about this one in particular, how you would actually write that out. All right, for everybody who's looking, this is on page 81. Okay? We're moving right along here, and on 81, we have, write it like it says, 15. So if I go 15, I think I spelled that wrong, equals 25, so I'm trying to write fast, times u squared plus, oops, well, not that plus 2. Sorry, when I write fast, I write sloppy. 15 equals 25 times u squared plus 2. All right, this one, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! I would say 3 divided by 3. Let's do it like it says. Divided by 2 times r minus t cubed, or you could say to the power of 3, equals 1, you guys get the drift, 132. Okay? So 3 divided by 2 times r. So I know right away I'm going to go 3 divided by 2 times r. So I'll think to myself, oh, that's a fraction. Minus t cubed, or t to the power of 3, equals 100, and you can spell out the rest of it, 32. Whew. Last example, ladies and gentlemen. Write a problem based on the given information. All right, Tiana's height, Consuela's height. Here's the information. Now, I left these up. Sometimes the guided practice comes in a multiple choice, and I wanted to look at it and think to myself, which one of these would it be? Because, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes I know these can get a little complicated, okay? So on this one, if you're looking at it, Tiana's height, all right, is in inches, Consuela's, here's the thing. So, what is it saying? It is saying that Tiana's height is 3 times taller than Consuela. So let's look at this. Consuela is 3 inches shorter than Tiana. The product of Consuela's height is 3 times Tiana's, is 182. How tall is Tiana? No, I don't think that's right. Consuela is 3 inches taller than Tiana. Well, if it was taller, that would probably be addition, so that's out. So let me keep A back in mind. Consuela is 3 inches shorter, all right, than Tiana. The sum of Consuela's height and 3 times Tiana's is 8,262. Ooh. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what am I looking for? Okay, Consuela is 3 inches shorter than Tiana. The product of Consuela's height, 3 times. So my only problem with this one is that it says the product of Consuela's height and 3 times Tiana's. So I don't want to see that. And then Tiana is 3 inches shorter. Do I give the answer? Ah, I do. Ladies and gentlemen, I was way off. It is letter A. So Consuela is 3 times shorter than Tiana. The product of Consuela's height and 3 times Tiana's is this. So that's how you write it out. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's one of the harder examples you'll see. But I wanted to make sure I showed you that one. So in your notes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure if I have this up. I can't remember. But if I do have this in the notes, please write this down so you'll know how to actually write that out. Best salary. Ladies and gentlemen, try on this one and see if you can get the word problem for it. All right, so when I'm looking at this, I see one thing, okay? P equals best salary, okay? So 0.01P is her bonus. So P plus this equals 525. So what does that mean? Well, what that means to me, if I were to write this word problem out, I would say the salary of Beth, okay, plus her bonus equals, sorry, that's a bad cue, 525. That's horrible. So, ladies and gentlemen, looking at this, I would say to myself, the salary of Beth plus her bonus equals 525. So that is taking an equation and putting it into the written word. One of the cool things in your books, ladies and gentlemen, if you're on page 81, You'll see a nice example related to a word problem, and it kind of gives you a better example of that. We will start moving very quickly through this chapter. So if you guys are starting to struggle, please let me know in class, okay? I went through this relatively quickly. If you have any questions, please come see me. Otherwise, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, fill out your notes. Come talk to me, but I'll see you in class.